Hey YouTube, welcome to another video. This is a quick showcase of Rouge. She's a 5-star hero, but she's really not that difficult to use. I'll explain why. She is a 5-star hero for her kit, and see what she's about here. So she is a tank character. Melee tank character with very limited kind of shielding abilities. So I don't know, I feel like other than her health and a little bit of her shielding ability, she's really kind of like a DPS hybrid kind of. She's kind of like a DPS with a larger health pool, I would kind of treat her as such because she has very limited shielding abilities. So we'll go over that. But so her basic attacks is kind of like these punching attacks or whatever. Then she has this kind of shield that lasts. He didn't attack. So basically her shield absorbs attacks for a short amount of time, and then you're able to counter attack, so return damage based on the counter attack, and it can really fling the enemy back. So that's kind of nice, but it doesn't last very long, so you really want to use it when you're coming in and absorbing attacks and boom, deal some damage back. So yeah, so another her next attack is where she kind of dives in, and then she kind of does this thing where she can kind of suck in the energy, the enemies in. Really good for kind of diving in, and maybe the enemy's trying to run away, you're able to catch up to them and get them to kind of stop running away for some time until you can burst them down. So that's nice. So her next attack is she kind of kicks the enemy up in the air and then dives down, and she's able to do some attacks. So really strong damaging combo. The fact that she goes in the air makes it for that second or so harder for a melee character to hit her, and she's just kind of mobile, right? She's like moving around quickly. So her next attack is the reason why she's a 5-star difficulty hero. It's not because she's hard to use, but I'll show you here. We're gonna use we'll use Magneto as an example here. So basically her next attack, she can go in, absorb the power, and you see how now I have his ability to shield myself, and she also absorbs some of his traits. So that's why she's a 5-star character. She has that ability alone kind of changes her kind of aspects like during combat, and it just depends on who you're absorbing. So now I have this Thundershock energy. I'm able to use Thor's abilities. Really cool, really fantastic, right? And I got the Thor's hammer around me to indicate. And so yeah, that's the reason why she's 5 stars, because her abilities can change. Her abilities are dependent on who you're actively combating. So she's you kind of have to know what you're doing, and what abilities you're absorbing and what stats you get. So that's the reason why she's 5 stars. It's not because she's hard. It's just when you use that specific ability, it changes your abilities. So you know, that is a, you know, kind of that's a there's a lot of heroes, so that ability can change a lot, right? And it's dependent on, you know, your enemies and who they pick. So just keep that in mind. So her ultimate ability, it steals ability energy from the enemy, and it kind of like boosts your stats according to, you know, their stats. So um, just kind of like an anti super uh, super. It's an anti super. You know, drains the ability energy, boosts your stats. Um, so it doesn't, you know, it does do some energy damage, but you really want to use it to kind of prevent the enemy from um, basically going all out on supers to your team. Um, so it's a countermeasure. It's a countermeasure. You know, these ultimate abilities in this game are can really just like, especially like Jeff, who can come in and just, you know, spit out the whole team in one shot. It's really devastating. So you know, she can really you know, her super is kind of special in that aspect. Now I don't know how much it drains and, you know, all that, but I would say useful for preventing, you know, the team to kind of really capitalizing on your team with ultimate abilities. So I'm gonna end with this. You know, Marvel Rivals really kind of making the meta a little bit kind of, you know, it's interesting. Um, you know, these characters are getting more and more a little bit you know, intricate. And so Rogue, you know, I mean, you know, Gambit, he's really popular. He's not, you know, he's kind of like not too hard to use, but he does have some interesting end game tools. And Rogue is, you know, um, she is, you know, I would honestly, my opinion, I would treat her as a kind of a DPS, kind of a hybrid DPS tank. Um, you know, um, like one on one versus the Hawk. Um, it's not gonna work out too good because you know, Hulk has a lot of tools, and he has a humongous health pool. He's able to shield himself. He's able to kind of paralyze you. But let me not even say the Hulk. Let me say like, you know, an enemy, and a tank with a shield. Um, you know, um, is really gonna is you know, she really is lacking any kind of shielding. So you know, just, you know, she I really would treat her like a DPS tank hybrid. um you know, your gameplay is gonna really revolve around your opponents, who they pick. You know, if it's worth even kind of using an anti super. um but no, she's really cool, she's really fun, she's quick. um you know, she really does provide a lot of tools. um yeah, I'm you know, um she's a tank, but um she really can really get burst down really quickly in combat. um you know, her she really doesn't have any shielding. She does have a tank health pool, but like with Venom, you know, Venom can kind of go in and he gets like this extra shielding that prevents him from dying and give him enough time to get away. Rogue really doesn't have that. You know, an interesting thing about Rogue is like um, they made Angelina fly, and if they were gonna make this character a tank with like no shielding ability, they really should allow her to fly. Um, Rogue, she's a flyer. I mean, she's always been able to fly. It feels kind of weird that she can't fly, to be honest. You know, but she really, I feel like, you know, the her ability an ability to fly is what might be what she's missing here to make her like an official like tank. Um, you know, because she can get burst down, and her, you know, melee ability, she has to get very close. She really doesn't have any kind of ranged attacks, you know, other than this absorb, which is very, the range is not long at all. um you know, she's only able to steal like one ability for a short amount of time. So you know, um this character, you know, if to really be, you know, to really make it to the top with this character, you're really gonna have to be very strategic. Kind of, you know, you know, because and the reason why I say that flying is so important with her, if she could, is you really have to position yourself. Like she really, when she positions herself appropriately, she can do a lot of damage. You know, if she was able to fly around and go behind some supports and, you know, go and do this, you know, and take out a support and then maybe fly away, you know, but you really have to unfortunately focus on mobility and kind of positioning yourself to be able to do a lot of damage and to survive in battles. Um, yeah, she's, you know, she's not hard to use in one respect, but to be able to use her effectively in battle, it takes a lot of, you have to be strategic for sure. I mean, you don't want to just run up to the enemy and start fighting like a normal tank, you know, like Hawk just goes in, fights, jumps back. You know, he has a lot of movement for a large tank. He can shield himself, he can like paralyze the enemy, he can shield other players. um, you know, so um, you know, she's really more like, I would say like she's like kind of like a secondary support tank. Secondary support tank. I would not use her as like a main support tank. You know, that's just not gonna be good. She can't protect anybody. She can't. She has like really, all her utilities are just for attacking and anti super. Um, she can't shield anybody for long. Um, she's lacking mobility. You know, she doesn't even like run very quick. She's actually kind of slow. I feel like her movement. Um, yeah, it's like a secondary tank role. You know, I mean, you know, I'm sure at some point somebody will prove me wrong, or, you know, with this game. I mean, people do a lot of things with this game, but right now, I would not have her as a main tank. She's definitely like a support tank of, you know, she's supporting a tank, and really heavily reliant. I think is going to be heavily reliant on the team. You know, I mean, maybe with a triple support and a big tank, and then she's a secondary tank. so she can go in, damage, you know, the enemy and do all these things while she's getting heals. But compared to the other tanks, she's kind of like a DPS hybrid. That's kind of like what I think. She's a DPS hybrid. Um, you know, she's just kind of like has these DPS type melee attacks. Um, you know, but with a larger health pool. Um, so you know, DPS very, very heavily either distance oriented or movement oriented, and she's lacking any kind of like quick mobility. So she has no shielding, no quick way to get out of combat, um, and you know, um, it's definitely something that you would have to get used to over time. Um, you know, this game isn't like super complicated, but I'm saying compared to the other characters, um, to be really effective with her, um, you know, you're really gonna have to kind of know what you're doing and get in and get out kind of thing. Um, you know, um, you know, to be a solo tank with this character, um, I don't recommend. You know that you could potentially be throwing the game um, if you solo tank, unless you have some really good support and really good DPS. Um, or you just don't care, you can pick her. But I think her role is really like a secondary tank role. Um, you know, to back up the tank and add some quick damage. Kind of be able to go in and kind of disrupt enemy movement and go in and also disrupt enemy plays. But you know, it's hard when you know, it's hard to go in and steal you know, an enemy super when you know, your movement is lacking. But those are just my thoughts. This is the first day she's out. Let me know what you think. Take care and have a good one, guys.